But leadership is a sport, so I don't know. Y'all
I
figure it out.
I I I think that we should, because we talked about it. We should like do some extra episodes besides the regular cadence that we have. It's football season. We talked about it when we first started this. Like there's a whole bunch of great leaders,
Oh
within
hell yeah!
coaching that we can say, hey, for our sports fans, we're going to have a special
We're gonna
bonus episode.
this,
We're talking about Tony Dungy or something like that, and bro,
so check this out. So what if we did? What if we did this one, right? Because we're in football season, so we can start on the one you're talking about, right? But what if we did this one? This is not a sports podcast, right? And then the bonus episode is titled "This is the Sports Podcast," and the bonus is like this is the one where we're talking about sports, and we're still tying in leadership, right?
yeah,
But like this is the bonus episode. This is the sports.
this is the sports podcast.
This is not the sports podcast. This is not a sports podcast. This is a sports podcast. And it's just a bonus episode from us, and then we can do that because
Right about now, you are listening to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, a show where we discuss living as a leader worth following, leading others to do the same, and in doing so, leaving a legacy for future generations. My name is Jimmy Gonzalez Jr., a learning and development professional and leadership coach, sitting down with my co-host Anthony Devon Watts Jr., an expert contact center leader that has effectively led and developed dynamic teams with high motivation. Together, we have over 30 years experience in the corporate game. Join us as we discuss our growth as leaders, share the lessons we've learned, and interview others to see how their leadership style was shaped as they were mentored by adversity.
I'm like, again, man, you see it, bro. You know how we are. Just in sports,
Yeah,
you just see it all the
just-
time. Like, it's like I watch football. Like, oh man, I don't want to talk about like if we wanted to talk about it, I will talk about the lack of leadership from the Clippers. Kawhi, what? Kawhi, Paul George, like,
Bruh.
like, how do you?
I didn't even see the game. I caught a clip of Stephen A. just like going off on them and talking about the coaches and like there's just no way they should have lost. They were up 3-1. That's just ridiculous.
Zero.
I mean, they got horsepower. Like you have NBA championship coaches on the staff. You have an NBA champion, a Finals MVP. You have all this talent, and for them to get beat. And how long is this cat? The Joker. How long has he been in the league? Like 2 years.
Yeah, like 2-3 years. So like,
Yeah,
like bro, like again, and you were up. You only had to win one more out of 3. Win one more out of 3. Like, how do you go 0 for 3?
bruh. LeBron's like, ha ha ha.
Yeah, yeah. All that talking about better than me, huh? Hey, ain't happened to me. This is LeBron. I ain't blow no 3-1. That's just great, but yeah, I mean, so it's funny because I've been sharing with my boys and stuff like that as we talk about it. Like at the end of the day, I wasn't surprised. Because I was saying, look, if it gets to game 7, and they can't close it out, they're done. For a couple of reasons. The momentum was in the Nuggets' favor. 2, you need somebody who's Kawhi is good at leading by example, but he's not good at challenging and creating healthy friction. Actually, the Clippers is a great example of what happens when you amass the best talent, when you amass like phenomenal talent, and but you're not willing to engage in setting expectations and having healthy friction, difficult conversations when people fall short of their capabilities. Right, because it's okay to give somebody grace, one time, maybe a second time, but you want to check in. Hey, I just want to check in with you. Like, hey, I noticed you're not performing up to par. Yeah, I noticed that something seems to be a little bit off in your performance in your game. Is everything all right? Right. And then after that, if they continue, then now it's a more direct conversation, right? But
Yeah.
what position would they have been in if Kawhi would have had that conversation with Paul George? hey, hey man, everything all right? I know something's off, like off with your game, and it's been like that since they were in the bubble, right?
Yeah.
He's had moments where he's performed up to his potential, dropped 30 and stuff like that, right? But like, why can't I get that consistently from you? So like, there's no healthy friction. There's just an assumption that, well, we bought in the best, and so they'll figure it out. And sometimes what people need to what they need most is to be called to account, to be called to account, to be challenged when they're not carrying their weight, to be challenged when they're falling short, to know that, hey, like, you're letting us down right now, and I don't know, I don't assume that it's intentional, but I still got to bring it to your attention. And what can we do? How can I help you? Right? Whether, like, Paul George saying that he's struggling with acclimating to the bubble. Well, why, like, you're going through these same experiences with your peers, right? And so it's not to dismiss him and say you shouldn't have these feelings, but it's saying, why can't you confide in your peers then? Yes. Like, what's going on there, right? Or if you're struggling with it, like, why can't you have like, you're not having these conversations with Kawhi? Not having these conversations with other individuals, who are supposed to be the leaders, the emotional leaders of the team, to help you acclimate and adjust to this. Like, and if I'm seeing that, or if I'm hearing that, what I'm interested in is what did the leadership on the Clippers, what did Kawhi do, what did Pat Beverly, what did all those other individuals do when the story broke and Paul George was transparent about that? What did Doc do? Yeah. What conversation did they have with him? Right?
When did that happen?
That was after the first round.
Okay.
Because he had some troubles, and then so he had acknowledged, like, hey, I'm just, like, people were asking him, he's like, man, I'm struggling, like, I'm struggling adjusting to the bubble, like, I've been depressed and stuff like that. Like, he's saying this, openly in public. So how did you guys address that? How did you guys give him a safe space? How did you give him a place to land? Or did you just think he would, he's gonna figure it out? It's basketball. I figured
he's
it out.
He's a professional.
He's basketball. I figured it out. You figured it out. And is that part of the reason why he couldn't show up for you guys, even though he may have wanted to? Is that part of the reason why he's shooting a wide open three hitting the side of the backboard, which is not like Paul George, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that Paul George is, the guy that can carry the team on his back, right? But if you have him and Kawhi both performing at optimal peak them, they're going to be a hard-ass team to beat, right? Then this is a team that clearly underperformed to expectations. And on the flip side, you have a team like the Nuggets, who have high affinity, right? Who have faced adversity, who are having those difficult conversations when they're down 3-1, right? And how did they respond, right? How did Jamal Murray respond? How did Joker respond, right? How did the role players respond? Michael Porter, like, that's a great example. Michael Porter Jr., right? So he's sitting down after they lost, right? And he's like, after they lost their third game, and he's saying, we need to let more people play. There's other people that can score and contribute, right? That's healthy friction.
Yep.
And everybody was like, who the hell is this young cat saying this shit? Yeah. Like, bro, you coming off the... But what did he do? He showed up in the next game. He
came through,
And it wasn't just offensively. It's not like he was shooting up every shot. He was doing what was required in order to help the team win. He made a huge defensive play, right? And he wasn't wrong, because the other people that they gave minutes to, it was in that game, Paul Millsap, in the third quarter, went on a 14-point tear in order to close the gap because they were down by 16 to the Clippers. Paul Millsap wasn't getting minutes like that. He comes into the game. He only played during that stretch, that third quarter stretch, 14 points, and then never saw the court again.
Oh, yeah. He was just in there watching, cheering on the team. But he got them to that point and said, all right, young bucks, go ahead, take this thing home. Let's get this dub.
I sparked you. Let's get the dub, right? That's what it looks like when you have a team of high affinity, when you have healthy friction. Like, to say that in public, you know what I mean? Like, again, when you're a person that's coming off the bench, we need to let more people play.
And yeah, he didn't say it like like crying or complaining about it. He was just very matter of fact
about it. This is what's wrong. We need to let more
Correct.
people play. Other people can contribute. Other people can score. Other people. We need to let more people be involved. Right? He was advocating for ownership and accountability in the results.
Correct.
Let me contribute. And if we lose, I at least want to know that it's because all of us had an opportunity to fight like hell. And what happened? And so, like, in that picture, like, honestly, you don't even have to watch the games. If you just see how the teams responded in those moments, one willing to embrace healthy friction, the other, not willing to embrace healthy friction or support for their teammate, low affinity, high affinity, that tells you already know what the results are going to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, like, I'm not surprised that it played out how it played out. Now it's going to be interesting, right?
Should have left the freaking recorder. This is another podcast.
Yeah.
Not the not sports podcast episode. Damn it.
Yeah, like that's high affinity right there.
Yeah.
Like all day.
No, you broke that down for sure. Miami won.
I ain't surprised. Damn. So it's crazy. So I have a theory. But, maybe they'll prove my theory wrong. But I have a theory. That the NBA is intentionally trying to set it up so that the Boston Celtics and the Lakers go to the finals. And then the Lakers beat the Celtics because that would be the last time that they won a championship with Kobe Bryant, who also beat the Celtics. And this is Mamba year. And so I had this thought, like, when the first one, like in Miami won the first one, I was like, well, that's cool. They got to do that because I think they're trying to set Boston up to win it. You know what I mean? Or to make it to the finals so they can be beat by the Lakers and LeBron can bring a title back to LA for the first time since Kobe had to beat the Celtics to get his title, right? And so I was like, and that would just be the perfect story in this year. Like, Mamba was overseeing all of it to make sure, you know what I mean? Like, I was just thinking about all of that. And so I had a theory. I was like, well, we'll see how this Miami-Boston series plays out. But if Miami won, like, we'll see. I don't know. The boys haven't been playing around. Like, they've really, again, another example of high affinity. Like, they've taken.
I was thinking the same thing. The high affinity, the culture,
healthy friction,
organizational behavior, all of that stuff, bro, is definitely there with Spoelstra. Help me out, please. What's the old man's name?
Pat
Riley. Yeah, and isn't
Haslam?
Not Haslam. That he played center for them, and he played center for Charlotte back in the day.
Morning?
Yeah, isn't he still there too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, you just organizational culture, bro. It is there. To my high affinity, like, yep.
Healthy friction. Jimmy don't play
all of that. Yeah.
Jimmy Buckets, hey, straight up. Hey, bro, I already knew.
It was surprising. I mean, you knew Miami was already doing some things, but it's like, damn, this cat gonna go to Miami. He's kind of like the only person there. But again, when you got the coaching, when you have the culture, all those things that we talked about, bro, it's
places. So
perfect.
A perfect example of where an organization tailors their culture and their scheme, their fit, all of that to play to the strength of a player, right? To play to the strength of a hire, right? They knew what they were bringing him on for. They wanted a tone setter. They surrounded him by shooters because they know that that's not necessarily strength for him. They know he's going to be a high-energy two-way player on both sides of the court, right, giving maximum effort. They bought into that, and they allowed him to flourish and set the culture because the culture of Miami now is not what the culture was when they won rings before or even before Jimmy got there, right? This is a gritty team like, hey, we're going to scrap or we're going to scrap. And I already knew what time it was when they gave the players permission to allow, like, hey, all right, your family and other people can show up to the bubble now because it's this, it's the playoffs are starting, so like we're gonna allow that to happen. And the reporter asked Jimmy about it, and Jimmy was like, "Nah, I ain't having my family come see me." And they were like, "Well, it's allowed." And he's like, "Yeah, I know, but this is a business trip. This is basketball. I already been here 2 months." I'm on a mission. I got another 2 months, and then I'll spend all the time I need to from there. But I ain't got him here. And when he said that, I was like, oh, This man locked in. He just said, I will or abandon my family for the next 2 months on pursuit of getting this damn ring. I'm gonna get it. Like, I miss them. I love them. I don't care. Don't come here. You're not invited. I ain't buying you no ticket. Watch it like everybody else because I don't need no distractions. I am locked in.
For sure.
And so I was like, oh man, I already knew what time it was. So I knew they were going to make a deep run.
Yeah.
I knew they were going to make a deep run, but I thought Boston would give them a little trouble, and then I thought the NBA was going to, try and Cinderella story this thing, but we'll see.
I definitely did not think about that, but that would be cool. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you know me, I'm not a conspiracy theorist by nature, but I'm like, oh, this would be a really interesting story if it played out this way. Adam Silver.
That would be dope, though.
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, they're going to spin a story. That would be the ultimate in this year. And
they'll finesse it, even if it's Miami.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, LeBron, Miami, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, they're fighting for the first title since LeBron was with them, right? And now LeBron, they're in his way to get the first title in L.A., the storied rivalry. Pat Riley used to coach both organizations. Yep. You know what I mean? And when Pat Riley was coaching, Magic Johnson was there, right? And LeBron plays like Magic. Like, there's going to be all these reaches and storylines and angles, right? And then Jimmy Butler and LeBron James both ate at the same restaurant in Miami, and so that's how they're connected. Like, it's all gonna be reaches.
Wasn't it Jimmy Butler that was selling the coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was him.
Yeah, I had to confirm. He got a business going on, bro. He don't need no family. So I'm trying to win this chip. I'm trying to sell this coffee. Like, y'all stay where y'all at.
Jimmy Coffee. I saw that, bro.
I mean, it don't matter if it's a small, medium, large. It's $20.
$20. all the size $20. Jimmy Coffee.
What you want? It's $20.
No, it's $20.
Yeah, I know you got it. I know you got it.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
But yeah, man.
But the media does that. I mean, they do a good job at that. Like you said, they'll probably in any case, they're gonna try to reach in all different spots. But it'll be good to finally get to that point. So yeah, I think we can do one or two bonuses, maybe one on. I mean, it's football season, and we still got basketball going on. Again, even everything that we just broke down with those two teams talking about basketball and the playoffs. And then getting into some football stuff.
Yeah, bro, we could run it back. Yeah, we can definitely run it back and then make that an episode. And there's a bonus episode. Like, this is the bonus. This is the sports podcast. Like, this is.
We say it's not
a sports podcast. This is not a sports podcast. I want to stress
this
that.
This episode is a sports episode.
Right.
We're gonna talk about some leadership stuff. It's gonna be all sports. So
buckle in. But it's not a sports podcast. Yeah, I think that'll be super dope too. I like that a lot.
Rage on that beat, going crazy.
You have just listened to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, hosted by Jimmy Gonzalez and Devon Watts. Thank you, and we hope that you live, lead, and leave a legacy worth remembering. Until next time.